Well, welcome back to the podcast, Conversations with Jeff Bucknam. Dr. Jeff Bucknam is the lead pastor of Teaching and Vision at Harvest Bible Chapel in Chicagoland. And today we're going to have a conversation, because that's what we do here. We have a conversation with someone. But before we get into that conversation, by the way, I'm your host, Tommy Creutz. I always forget that. Doesn't matter. You don't need to know me. We just have a little bit of fun in the beginning.
Tommy, you're the adornment.
I'm the...
right, I'm the tree.
Okay.
You're the lights.
I'm the lights.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the... okay, I'll take that. I'll take the lights.
But what do people do? They're not looking at the tree, Tommy. They're looking at the lights.
No, they're looking at the tree.
Nah, it's the lights.
I don't think so. I think this is a really fun time, though, where we talk about whatever we want. Last time, do you ever get emails from, like, the podcast, like what
Tommy,
we do?
No.
Okay.
Tommy, let me tell you something.
Do you get text messages?
No. People don't. You say stuff to me sometimes like, hey, have you ever gone and spoken at such and such or been invited to do this? And the answer is no. I don't get invited to do things.
That's not true.
It is
You're being such an Eeyore right now.
Whatever. It's true. Ask Sherri's over there. She's the one who looks at my calendar. She's like, no invite. I got invited by some prince in Nigeria to do something.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, what did he invite you to do? Give him money?
Money, visits.
Yeah. Oh.
Marry off my sons to his daughter, stuff like that.
Yeah. Actually, was that a real one? Marry off the sons? No. That'd be a new one.
Oh, I get invited a lot. I'm really big
popular
in Africa.
Yeah, really popular. That's great. I
when I first came here to Harvest, I think you had just returned back, or like months later had went on a preaching junket to Arizona, where you were doing a tour of some variety.
It was not a tour. It was
the Tommy Creutz.
I was preaching tour at a winter camp in Arizona, which is the best time to do it. Yeah. So, and ever since then, I apparently preach everywhere. I get asked to preach everywhere.
I think you also went to North Carolina or something too.
Yeah, that was once. So 2 times.
That's 2 more times than I've done.
That's not true. You spoke several places.
No.
I remember once at Moody.
Yeah, it was sort of that was fun. But again, it's a one-off thing.
The Pacific Northwest. I remember there being one over that direction, or several actually.
Well, I'm from there, so that's like you going back to Wilmot and having them go, "Hey, Tommy,
yeah, what should I think about that? They haven't asked me to speak
Tommy, you're kind
there.
of here. Would you like to do something?"
Yeah. Hey, it's where you're from. Yeah, they have. That's the one place that hasn't asked me to come back.
That's right. I
think they're like, yeah, good riddance. Get that guy out of here.
Yeah.
Even though my parents still kind of live there, so it's all right.
What does that mean? They kind of live there.
Sorry. So I always say Wilmot. Like I went to Wilmot High School. My parents live in unincorporated Twin Lakes.
Whoa.
You know Twin Lakes?
Tommy, I feel like
know.
Feel like I've been lied to for years now.
I know. It's confusing. Because everyone not everyone. People know Twin Lakes. Country Thunder is like a big thing that happens in Twin Lakes. It's a big, huge country music festival.
Yeah.
And
Tommy, I think that your understanding of everyone and my understanding of everyone are very different.
Everyone in the Midwest, like in this area, knows about. I mean, right? Country Thunder.
Yeah, nobody in the room does, but that's okay.
Brian, Country Thunder. Jeff.
No, nope.
I can't see.
No, nobody here does. Tommy.
I mean, not that it's good.
Tommy, I feel like your whole life you've been thinking that people, you guys know Twin Lakes. This is where Country Thunder happens.
You don't know Lake Elizabeth and Lake Mary, Twin Lakes. What about the Aquanauts? They practice on there anyway. So they live in unincorporated Twin Lakes, which is basically, Little House on the Prairie. But we are closer to Wilmot, so we live right outside of Wilmot proper.
All right.
So I just say Wilmot. It's easier for people.
I feel like your story. Feel like your story is so unnecessarily detailed that it feels like you're in the FBI,
like the witness protection
program.
Yeah,
like they gave you too many details.
Yeah,
like that's not the kind of detail.
I'm an overshare, so I overshare all of the details with you.
Yeah, and I have an Aunt Peg, and she lives next door. And anyway,
anywho's, so we the last time, the reason I brought that up is I sometimes get text messages from people.
Okay.
From from our time here on the podcast. Yeah. And last time we were together talking, we talked about the Pope passing. And I think someone had made a comment about, hey, they should make a movie about like what happens behind like the closed doors and like how they choose a new pope. That would be so interesting and fascinating to watch. And it turns out that a couple of weeks ago, months ago, even maybe, a new movie has just come out about that exact premise. So we're just a little bit late on the idea.
Yeah, well, we spoke it.
We spoke, yeah, named and claimed.
Yeah.
And now,
have you seen the movie?
I have not seen the movie. Have you seen the movie?
No, I have not. Are you interested in seeing any movies this summer?
I feel like I am.
I want to go see the last Tom Cruise movie, whatever it's called, the last Mission Impossible movie.
Yes,
it's supposed to be quite a hoot.
It is going to be quite a hoot.
Yeah. Do you know when I was a kid? You're younger than I am, quite a bit younger. So maybe this was not your experience. When I was a kid, the summer blockbuster was a really big thing.
Yeah,
and everybody would kind of get excited about. That was a normal question. What movies were you going to see this summer? And so
totally.
Now it feels like that's not really a thing anymore.
Yeah. Well, probably because Blockbuster stopped becoming a thing.
It's not just Blockbuster. It's the fact that you get everybody streams, like all the movies go on streaming. And
that's true.
We just don't really have.
It's the culture of instant gratification.
Yeah, it is.
No longer go to the theater, enjoy it. Although we do. I did recently with the kids. We went and saw Minecraft.
Did you enjoy Minecraft?
Here's the thing. I enjoyed it. There's cussing in it. It's a kids movie. There's a couple cusses.
Do kids now? And my kids played Minecraft.
Yeah.
My kids were not allowed to cuss, but I imagine there would be kids in the world who, while playing Minecraft, have cussed before.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe they were just trying to, keeping it real and all that.
I was just like, why do they got to put that in there? You know?
I don't know.
It's like why you got to do that?
Is there a storyline to the Minecraft movie? Or is it just,
Yeah, it's like
it's like those guys who watch those Twitch streamers. There's no story. It's just them watching some guy build a Fortnite castle and then dying.
I loved every part of the sentence that you just said. Building a Fortnite castle and dying. Oh, yeah. No, it's there was a story to it. Jack Black was very Jack Black. He was he was a bit over the top. Anyone else watch Minecraft? Okay. It's good. It's got some funny parts, but it's like it is hammed up to 11.
Okay.
It's very hammy. And
did your kids like it? Zion like it. Zion would have been like, yeah.
Aside from the cussing, yeah.
Okay.
Zion, he's a big Minecraft guy. So
all right.
He loves.
Have you introduced him to
Fortnite
the other
castles.
video games yet? Is it just Minecraft?
No, we play Roblox togetger.
Okay.
But he has to play with me because there's a bunch of weird stuff on there.
Okay.
So we play together.
But there's nothing else yet. How old is he?
Oh, Fortnite. We play Fortnite.
Okay.
We build Fortnite castles.
What else do you call them?
That's it.
They're castles. They're basically
Next time you talk about Fortnite, like with like Micah or Ethan, or so, like say that you're cranking 90s.
Cranking 90s.
Yeah, they're gonna understand that, and it's gonna blow their minds. They're gonna be like, "What? How do you know?"
All right.
You're like, I crank 90s all the time. Just cranking all the 90s.
I'm not sure what that is, but
I'm not sure I know exactly what it is either. But it is a building technique in Fortnite.
Oh, cranking 90s.
Yeah, you crank a 90.
Yeah.
And it's like really good.
Okay.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So
I've won a few Fortnites in my day. Yeah, but I'm
victory royales against bots or real people.
Well, I don't know. Well, how do you know?
Yeah, that's right.
So I usually just hide till the end.
Yeah. In a bush.
And then I take care of business right at the end.
Right at the end.
Yeah. Well,
you got to get the good guns first,
Yeah. You don't even really need those. Just wait till the guy thinks that he's the last guy and they're fighting each other, and then the dude
sneak up. You third party him?
Yeah. So then at the end he falls, and of course their final battle is drained every ounce of life after the guy, and so you just go up and you shoot whatever you got at him, and you're done.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So easy. Can't believe people don't do
Why
that
is
all
this
the
not
time.
the strategy most people are using?
Yeah. They're not patient.
No, they're not patient. They're not patient and scared like I am.
Yeah, it's scared.
In Fortnite.
That's true.
I can't actually believe that Fortnite's still a thing.
It's been long lasting.
They have done very well in order to make that game continue through all this time. They really have.
Yeah.
They kind of updated it here and there and
New
added
seasons,
new little bits and bobs for it. That's good because kids today are still playing the Fortnite. My kids played Fortnite. They loved it.
Yeah,
Which is that's what we're going around 10 years or so now.
Yeah, it's a long last. It is. We thought for a while it was dead, and then it came back. It like had a resurgence and it was super popular again, and now it's been there ever since.
It's like U2.
Yeah, it's like U2. Totally resurgence. I think. Yeah.
Have you been following some of the Diddy trial?
No.
Speaking about
resurgence.
Don't.
No. Okay, I haven't.
No, don't.
I don't really follow any news media. It's actually
really. So on a serious note, just for a second, listening to some of the things that have been said and done by him and some of the music moguls makes me wonder very seriously whether or not there is a level of demonic, not just influence, but like even overt worship going on behind the scenes in some settings in the entertainment industry.
Isn't that like the whole conspiracy of like the Grove?
I'm not trying to conspiracy theory this.
No.
I just, some of the things that are described, if you know anything about historic worship acts done, by other to other gods and goddesses throughout the history of the world, so much of it sounds like that, like it's pagan.
Yeah,
like shockingly pagan.
Wow.
And over-sexualized and just really shocking.
Like hedonistic.
Stuff. Yeah, and very troubling to listen to hear that there are people who are actively involved in this. And then the thing that's really frustrating is what people will do for money is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And my concern is that this guy, he had video cameras all over his whole house, recording all of this stuff, and in his trial, there's nothing that's been said up to this point regarding the other parties that have taken part in his stuff.
So you think he's going to take the fall?
Well, I think there's a lot of very important people who have a lot to lose by what he videoed.
Sure.
And I think that they're trying to. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those things are going to be put to the side for.
This would be a very similar sentiment to what people had said about Epstein, right?
Yeah,
which is that,
and my wife and I were talking about it last night, and it's frustrating as a Christian because you're like, you really want to see you really want to see justice done,
yes,
in the world, that it will be eventually done, but it's hard to wait sometimes when this sort of thing happens. You're like, no, Lord, these people seem to get away with it.
Yeah.
They always seem to get away with it. But, leave it to the wrath of God, Romans 12. Yeah. So I think ultimately, obviously, everything will be known and is already known by the Lord. It's just shocking to see how much politics goes into it and protectionism. And if you have power and money, which gives you power, you're able to do all sorts of things and never be held accountable for it.
Yeah.
I was in Washington, D.C. this last week, just goofing around. We were there to see we went down to see by the way, went to the Museum of the Bible.
Yeah. Review time.
It's fantastic.
You
should go. Apparently Harvest Bible Chapel gave a gift to the Harvest to it years ago.
Okay.
And on the wall, it says, it has the names of churches that gave money and then their pastor. And Harvest doesn't have their pastor after it. So I'm very upset about this.
Wow.
Because my name could be on the wall at the thing.
How much of a gift do you have to give?
I'm very bothered by this.
How much of a gift do you have to give your name on the wall?
I didn't even know that we...
How does Conversations with Jeff Bucknam get up there?
It was a long time before.
How do we get up there?
Yeah. But it's amazing. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area, really go to the Museum of the Bible. You really like it.
Yeah.
It's they give lots of discounts too, like if you're a student or a pastor or something.
Do you think that it is, like what age would you say this is suitable for?
Well, they have all the ages.
All ages.
Yeah, okay. Like there's place for kids and that kind of thing. But it is a really professionally done museum. Wow. There is nothing cheesy about it. It's fantastic.
And you got a good nose for that.
Yeah,
you got
I do.
A good cheese
I'm like
nose.
really sensitive for that.
You are.
You should go to the Museum of the Bible. But I was in Washington D.C. and we walked around and saw all the different. We saw all the different stuff all over the place there, like Supreme Court, the Capitol building, and all that. And I got to tell you, it's really hard to walk around there and feel like there's not stuff hidden under the ground everywhere. Tommy, you've affected my thinking way too much.
I've driven you into the conspiracies.
I don't like it.
Do we stop? Do we need to pause?
Seriously though.
What I've affected you?
It's been very terrible. But I was walking around with my daughter and my wife, and I was goofing around with Sophie the whole time.
Yeah, wonder what's under there.
Well, she kept saying, "Oh, those are cute ducks," and I kept saying, "Those aren't ducks.
Those aren't ducks.
Those are listening
that's a
devices.
government device.
Those are listening devices." Yeah. We went to the pool that is the reflecting pool.
Yeah.
For the Lincoln Memorial.
Yes.
And the water's like foot deep, maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, I'm like, there's something under there.
Yeah. An extraterrestrial.
Yeah,
probably.
there is hidden in plain sight. And you cannot tell me that there aren't tunnels running through the entirety of that city underground.
All of it. Yeah, 100%.
And then they have these weird, like little, there's a gazebo over there. I wonder what that is.
A missile
and the
silo.
answer is that is the exit for the underground tunnel that leads to the White House.
Totally. No one's allowed.
Seriously, you think. So my wife started having this really, really sharp opinion, which I thought was very, very sharp.
It was very sharp.
And here it is. She's like, I'll bet you that Trump doesn't even live in the White House. I'll bet you that there are tunnels that lead to some like dumpy apartment somewhere just outside. On the outside looks dumpy. Inside it's magnificent.
Yep.
And the president actually is staying in there. And I started thinking, yeah, that's about right.
That's probably right.
That's about right.
She knows what she's talking about.
There were snipers on the roof.
That's terrifying.
Of the White House.
All right.
They have their sniper rifles pointed directly in my direction.
How'd that feel?
I didn't like it at all.
Felt like you were on the other side of a Call of Duty moment.
I was just standing there with a bunch of people, and they were pointing their sniper rifles directly at me.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I don't particularly like this. Yeah. And what stinks about it is you can't go up the steps of the Washington stuff. What? Like the Lincoln Memorial you can do, but the rest of it, you can't actually go onto you go on the property, but then you can't actually go up the steps of the Supreme Court. You can't go up the steps of the Capitol. You can't. It's
because they're not real.
What is this now?
It's not real. It's all
a facade.
It's all facade.
Yeah. Inside is a giant warehouse that holds
something.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Are we recording?
Ladies and gentlemen.
We are recording? Oh, man, I was going to tell you something, but only if we were off recording.
Oh, okay.
I watched a video or a movie lately. I'll just say it. I watched a movie recently with the kids. I cried. I don't ever cry.
Was it Minecraft?
No. Oh. No. So Wild Robot is the name of it. You see it on Netflix?
I've heard that's good.
I was teary-eyed. There's a couple moments in there. Little duck. You said ducks, and the thought of that. We also have ducks at our house right now. Maybe that's why I feel so attached. Oh. We rent ducklings. Like every year? It's a weird thing. For like 2 weeks. We rent
them?
We rent.
What?
From a farm. We bring them into our home for 2 weeks.
Why?
And they live among us. Why?
Yes.
To scratch the itch that the kids have, right?
What other stuff
we
can
want
you
a pet,
rent?
And we're like, here for 2 weeks.
So when your wife starts wanting to have another baby, do you just rent another kid?
Yeah.
Just
have some people come stay with us for a while. Yeah. Have a couple play dates.
What other stuff can you rent?
You could do chickens, other small
You
bunnies.
can rent chickens.
Yeah, bunnies. You want me to? I'll send you.
Has anybody else here ever rented anything?
I'll send you a farm animal. I'll send you the farm's info. You can.
Jeff Cox is over in the corner. When I asked, does anybody rent anything? He kind of gave a wry smile, like, I've got a
bunny, Jeff. Oh, not a living thing. I'll send you the farm info if you are interested.
You can rent farm animals.
But like small ones, like babies. Yeah.
Do you cry when they leave?
No.
You're not sad?
No. They smell. They make your house smell.
Okay.
Awful.
Yeah, well,
I will walk into my house today. As soon as we're done here, I will go back. I will walk into my house, and the first thing that I will think in my head when I walk through the doors of my house is, this smells like duck in here. Right. And not like we just made like this delicious like duck.
Oh.
No, it's awful smelling. It's like wet bedding and duck poo-poo.
All right.
Yep.
Speaking of wet bedding and duck poo-poo.
Yeah.
We are going to have a conversation today.
You are going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You're going to be having a conversation with Zuri. And Zuri, have you been on the podcast before? Wow. First time. So you guys are going to jump into her story.
I don't actually know a ton about Zuri. I'm very excited about this.
This is going to be very exciting.
Zuri, but I've never actually spent a lot of time talking to her about.
And not only are you going to get to know Zuri, but those of you who are watching are going to get to know Zuri, and you're going to have a conversation, because we believe everyone has a story, and you guys are going to dive into Zuri's right now. Let's go.
I can't believe you rent.
We rent ducks. Yeah, we rent ducks. Ducks and chickens. We alternate every year.
I'm sitting here with Zuri Alvarado. Mm-hmm. Zuri, what's your middle name? Do you have a middle name?
One. Nope.
It's just Zuri Alvarado, but Zuri's not the whole first name.
No, it is.
What?
So simple. Keep it simple.
Wow.
Yeah.
Zuri, were you born in Chicago? Is this your hometown?
Well, yes.
Chicagoland.
Chicagoland. Yeah, I guess I was born in Elgin, the hospital.
You guess?
Yeah.
Or you just?
I just don't know, really. I think my mom said one time
told.
I was born in Elgin. And then I grew up in Crystal Lake / McHenry. So
when you say / McHenry,
half of my life,
or you didn't live between Crystal Lake and McHenry. Sometimes you lived in Crystal Lake, and sometimes you lived in No, I mean like you had both places you lived there.
Yes, both.
Okay.
So I should have said both. Yeah.
So you're kind of like edge of Chicagoland child.
Yeah.
And you are 21 years young.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. When was your birthday?
January 8th, 2004.
Oh, holy cow.
Yeah.
See, I'm placing you now as the same age, roughly the same age, 6 months younger than my son, my second son, 2003.
Never met him.
So, yeah. Well, okay. So I feel like I'm talking to my daughter then. Here we go.
Yes, sir.
This will be great.
Yeah.
So, Zuri, you grew up in that area in Crystal Lake and in McHenry?
Yep.
How many family members do you have?
I only have one older brother, and my parents are still together. How much older? 2 years.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. You get along with him?
Yeah.
Did you get along when you were growing up?
I tried.
What does that mean?
He didn't like me.
Why not?
I was a girl.
Well, you were a little sister.
I was a little sister.
Were you a like precocious little sister who always wanted to get in his business, or were you kind of just polite and kind? And
no, I did. I wanted to be like him so bad. I got into Star Wars. I got into skateboarding.
You got into Star Wars?
Yeah. Oh, I loved it because he loved it.
Can you do an ollie on a skateboard?
No, I could never do any
Can you do a
of the
kickflip?
tricks. Nothing.
Oh.
Like the bare minimum of
everything.
You
can ride though. Like you can ride a skateboard.
Not now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not like riding a bike where if you start on the skateboard, you're good at it for the rest of your life?
Absolutely not. Like if I were to try on a skateboard today, gone. I'm seeing the Lord that day.
You gotta.
Yeah.
You don't. Okay. But there was a period of time where you were able to ride a skateboard.
Oh yeah. I tried everything.
But your brother was a skateboarder.
He was a skateboarder. He loved Star Wars. He loved sports. He loved animals. Like I got into all of it. I was like a tomboy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite thing about Star Wars?
Oh, Yoda.
Really?
He just was so funny to me. He was so funny. And I just love the storyline. Although I still don't understand it. It's too much.
Listen, nobody understands it.
But I think
they don't understand it either.
My brother
understands. They pretend that they understand it. They don't understand. Brian's over here in the corner, and he's a big Star Wars guy, and he's
Does he understand
no,
it?
he doesn't.
No, I think he does. Like die-hard Star Wars fans, like they get it. I wasn't there. I tried. But I would ask my brother, like, what are you talking about? Like, let's learn more about it. And he'd be like, oh, I don't want to teach you. So I would just sit there and watch the movies.
It's just beneath you.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it would just take too long for me to describe the life that's lived on Alderaan.
It's too much for him. So he never did. So I did like the bare minimum of everything he did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that you could converse and be part of his life a little bit.
I did try. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Is he married now?
Not yet.
No, okay. Does he live near you? Or
we're both at home.
Oh, okay. Still, I like it.
Yeah.
And your parents are from the Chicagoland as well? Oh, no, Mexico.
Yeah, they were born in Mexico. Mm-hmm.
Where?
My mom was born in Guanajuato, Mexico.
Oh, man.
And my dad was born in Oaxaca. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know where Oaxaca is.
Okay.
But I don't know say the first. Okay, where's that?
It's kind of by the Morelia. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. I've never been to Mexico. So.
What?
Yeah.
You've never been?
I've never been.
Would you like to go?
I would love to go. I mean, I've heard good things and bad things, but I would love to go. But I just haven't. My mom just now got her green card. So we're going to go together, I think, this year for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And so, but like I'm 21. And so when was she? My mom just got her green card. So she wasn't ever going to be able to take me home and stuff.
No, that's right.
So.
Oaxaca. I was in Oaxaca. At one point in my life. Yeah. Not for very long, but I was down there in southern Mexico there. That's right. Months? I'm right about that, right? Oaxaca's in the south.
I actually don't know.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it is. I've been to the Yucatan, Oaxaca, all that area. Yeah. But if I'm wrong about where Oaxaca is in Mexico, that's okay.
We're both off.
People will forgive me, but I have been to several places in Mexico. I love Mexico. I actually find Mexico to be quite a remarkable place. And there's some crime and stuff, but there's crime in the States as well.
Yeah.
Depending on where you go. And there's certain parts of it's always interesting to me, people be like, oh, there's a lot of crime in that part of Mexico or this part of Mexico. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the way it is in every city in the U.S.
Everywhere.
Like everywhere I've ever lived, I've lived in Seattle, and I say, you know what, you probably don't want to be hanging around Capitol Hill or South Seattle during certain times of the day. I wouldn't recommend that you go up to Capitol Hill and just start wandering around.
Exactly.
Same thing in certain parts of Puerto Vallarta or any of even the tourist spots. It's the same kind of mentality. But there are places that are also really quite beautiful. Safe and quite beautiful and quite, really, really nice. In fact, I get people from outside Chicago, and we live in this area, who will ask me how, do you guys get in gunfights and stuff with people? And I'm like, I live in Barrington.
Not Barrington.
It's not a lot of gunfights happening.
It's not the vibe.
Out where I am. Yeah. But that, there's not a lot of suburbs where that's a thing that goes on. But people get this picture in their heads about it.
That's true.
Well, you have to go to Mexico.
I'm trying. I'm going to go, I think, this year.
All right.
To go visit my grandma.
Now, I'm going to fast forward really quickly in your life here. You're like seriously dating a guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I brought this up the other day. Zuri, for those of you who don't know, Zuri, she's one of our singers. By the way, you have just a beautiful voice. You know Thanks, this. And people say this all the time, I'm sure. But when you sing, you have lots of bling on the old hands there. And the other day when I was watching the little video, I saw your finger had a ring on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, Zuri. Then I walked by you. I was going to go preach the sermon. And I asked you when I was going by, do you have I can't remember if it was when I was going by or later.
It was, yeah.
I said, are you getting married? And then you said, no, not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet. But how long have you been seeing your guy?
3 years.
Holy smokes. And where did you meet him?
In high school and / youth group, both. I met him there. And so we've been dating for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's about time.
Well, you're 21. That's young.
I know, but I just the Lord has just been so kind to me. So
okay. How old is he?
He's 2 years younger than me. So he's
Whoa! Mm-hmm. Marrying a 17-year-old, a 13-year-old? How old was he when you met him?
15. I was 17.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah. His feet.
So when you grew up in McHenry and in Crystal Lake, you're a musician. Is that pretty much the thing that you were mostly interested in? I mean, you said that you were a tomboy, but was music something you were always really interested in?
No, I didn't want, no, I really wanted to be a doctor growing up.
Any particular kind of doctor?
Just like just like a really high sophisticated doctor.
So me,
Yeah,
like me.
like you.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. But not really. You actually wanted to be a doctor, like a medical doctor.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
physician.
Yes, because growing up, my dad was always sick. So he was always like, Zuri, when you grow up, you have to be a doctor because you have to heal me. Because I for whatever reason as a kid, I feel like the Lord would just be so kind that like whenever he would have like pain or whatever, one, I would pray over it, but two, I would massage. And so I was like, you know what? Like, I think I know what's wrong with you. And I would just like diagnose him or whatever.
Yeah.
And he'd say, oh, when you grow up, like you need to be a doctor. You know? And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to like be a nurse first, then I'm going to be a doctor, then I'm going to like be a surgeon and like just like keep growing up in the ranks. But I hate school.
Yeah.
So it never happened. So
yeah, well, yeah, it takes a lot of school to go to be a physician.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But at what point did you determine that music was something that you'd obviously been gifted with?
Well, I wasn't always gifted with
rubbish.
No, I let my yes be yes and my no be no. But I just I was tone deaf for the majority of my youth until I was 14. I was at church one time with my brother and his friends whom loved Star Wars. So I was over here trying to fit in. But one day during worship, I remember hearing a voice, which I believe to be the Lord. He said, if you give me everything, I'll bless you. And I had never heard the voice of God in that way, but that was the first time that I'd ever heard it, and I was embarrassed because I remember being like, "Well, did everybody hear that?" Like the guys around me, I was so nervous, and I was like, "This is embarrassing." But then I really thought about it some more, and they were singing a song called "Who You Say I Am," and I thought about it some more, and then I just worshiped freely, like just out of nowhere, and they were looking at me like, are you okay? And suddenly like I could sing like the way that I do now was the way that I sang at 14. And that's when I had actually I'd heard the voice and I screamed, and I went home and I ran and I said, Mom, I have a voice. Like I was telling my brother, he was like, oh, shut up, like whatever, I don't really care. But I was like, Mom, like I have a voice. Like this is not like funny. Like I mean it. And I was just running around singing, I am who you say I am, just singing it over and over and over. And even the guys that were next to me, I shook them. I said, you guys hear me? Like I have a voice. The Lord gave it to me. And they were like, what the heck is wrong with her? Like something's wrong. But like your voice sounds okay. Like, which they had never heard me sing. Yeah. But my brother has. And so he can testify to this day. I was tone deaf. Like I couldn't sing. It was terrible. I would sing all the time. Like at home, like anyone else would in the shower. But I never thought of pursuing, I never really realized that worship leading was a thing. Like I'd been to church, but I didn't think that they were on staff, or that even I didn't know what the process of that was. And so I was like, well, I don't want to be a worship leader. I just thought this was cool. Like, thank you, Lord. Yeah. So then I was just so blessed by that. So I really didn't have a voice. So the Lord blessed me with it, and I gave him everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So, you grew up in church then?
Somewhat.
Okay, yeah. What kind?
So I went to Hispanic Assemblies of God.
Okay, OG, yeah. So the AOG is a charismatic church.
Well.
Or was your AOG not?
Not. Like they wouldn't even lift a finger. So I was like the weirdest thing ever when I At
an AOG church,
they didn't. Think. They literally were just were stuck. Like it's in Crystal Lake. Wow. It's just
that's odd.
One of these.
That's very different for most AOG.
Very different.
Yeah. It's a good denomination, by the way.
Yeah. So I just was so, I don't know. I never grew up charismatic. So I just was used to one of the, just always having your hands beside your legs. But the Hispanic side was more open, more excited and things like that. So I grew up there, but not often. So like my mom would take me because my dad wasn't yet fully devoted to the Lord.
Okay.
He was very busy with work and things like that.
What did he do?
So he was a construction worker. So like he owned his own business and did like fountains and concrete, worked with all kinds of concrete. And so he was always busy, and that was his excuse as to why he couldn't come to church. And so my mom would ride her bike and put us on the back of like, what are those called? Like the things that have a net and like the wheels, and like you can put your kids in there. My mom
trailer?
Yeah, basically. For a bike.
Did you tow it, or was it on the bike?
It was on, like, it was like attached to the bike.
Yeah, the little trailer.
Yeah. And so my mom would ride that to church every morning.
That's
she
amazing.
just wanted us to be there, and she was hungry for the Lord. So then my parents ended up getting married at some point, because my mom was like, oh, like, we're not married and we have kids. Like, I didn't know this was unbiblical because she didn't know the Lord. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, well, now we have to get married. So they got married at that church, and I grew up there, but I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. I didn't know the depths of him, and my mom didn't know the depths of him, and my father sure didn't know the depths of him. So my dad's background, he grew up in Oaxaca, but there was witchcraft there. And so he grew up in a tribe. He's native. And so he grew up there, and that's where he learned witchcraft, and he learned his family, like I said, was in a tribe. And so he was next in to be chief at 14. And so he was a part of all like the rituals and all the running, like, and all the circles and all the things that they did, and the spells and all the incantations, and he was involved in all of that. And so he came here to the U.S. illegally, and he came here, and he had not found the Lord, but he had said he'd always known about Jesus, always heard about him, but never gave his life to him. And so that's what he was surrounded by. So when he came here, that's all he knew. And so when he met my mom, who was Catholic growing up, she knew that there was something more. And so she ran to find a Christian church once they were together for a while. And that's when she wanted to seek the Lord. But with that came a lot of spiritual warfare in our home. And so there was a lot of things, like for me, like I would see so many demonic things, and I was always scared as a kid. And so the way I was introduced to Jesus was, as a kid, my mom would say, just sing songs to him when you're scared, and it would put you back to sleep. And so I would, like in my little bed, I would wake up from a nightmare and I'd run to my mom's room, Mom, help me. And she would just say, well, sing songs to him. And so I would, it wouldn't sound good, apparently, according to my brother, but I would just sing songs to him, and the Lord would give me peace again. But because of that, like I said, there was so much spiritual warfare in our home, and my parents were always fighting and always butting heads. Then eventually we were at this Assemblies of God church, my mom praying that my father would come to faith. And so he hadn't for the longest time, but my brother and I grew up there, and there was like those hypocritical women in the church, like those like annoying aunts that just like were so rude for no reason, that would like pick on you for whatever reason. And so I would be like, oh, like if Jesus is anything like you guys, I don't want him. Like, I like, this makes no sense. Like, I don't want to come to this church. And so then I would run to the other side, which had the English church. And that's where I heard the Lord for the first time to that degree. And I was like, yeah, like I want to give him everything. Like, what's the point? Like, this all sucks around here. So like, yeah, I'll give you everything. That's when he blessed me with my voice and his presence for the first time.
Yeah.
And I ran home just with so much joy. Like the joy of the Lord just was like washed over me, where I was so angry. I think growing up, I was really angry as a kid. I think that growing up, like I had a lot of rejection, like one from my brother, just because like he's a boy. It makes so much sense to me. I don't hold that against him, but I experienced a lot of rejection from him. I'd experienced a lot of rejection from friends because I was too Christian. They would say, you're too innocent, or you can't hang out with us because you're too innocent. You don't want to do the things we're doing. But I feared the Lord, even though I didn't know him at that point to that extent. I feared him. My dad would always tell me, like, even though he didn't really fully believe in God, he'd say, God is always watching you though. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, he is. Like, I can't even be mean. Like, he's watching me. So, I would be rejected from friends. I didn't have many friends. I would always take the friends from the neighborhood that like just had terrible homes. Like I'm talking like the police were to come find them, and I hid them in my room. And my mom would end up answering the door to police, like knocking down, like, hey, like, is she home and is she here? And I would have to like say, yeah, she is. Like, I would have to give her up because otherwise I'd be lying. And so things like that, like I would always love, those were the people that I attracted. I think the most were the broken, which I myself was broken. And so I was like, okay. And those were the only friends I really had. But even those, I would move around a lot because my dad would get jobs and he would lose jobs, and he would get jobs and he would lose them. So then we wouldn't have money. And he was just an angry man. And so I held a lot of resentment because I was rejected from my family, and I just was angry as a kid.
So did your dad come to faith in Christ at some point, or?
Yeah. So when I was 14, so this is a part of his story too, but when I was 14 and that had happened at that church, I ended up leaving because my friend at my middle school invited me to the chapel in McHenry at the time. Yeah. And she was like, you should just come. And I like begged my parents to let me go. They let me go one Sunday, and the worship leader from the stage came down. Like, this was like weeks after what had happened and the Lord had blessed me. She had came down from the stage after everything was over, and she pointed at me and she said, I feel like you have a gift. And I was like, did he tell you? Yeah. Like, why did he snitch? Like, I didn't want to, this was between me and you, Lord. Like, I'm offended. Like, why would you do that? And she said, I feel like the Lord has shown me you have a gift. And I said, no. And, eventually I gave it up, and she said, well, let's just meet. Let's just hang out. And I told her my testimony. I told her what I've gone through as a kid. I told her the traumas that I'd went through. And one specifically, she was like, I have to report this because I'm a mandated reporter. Right. And so I was so crushed because I was like, are you kidding me? Like, my dad's going to kill me. He's already an angry man. Like, I don't even know what he's going to respond with. But I ended up, she told me, you have until tonight to tell your parents. And I was like, what? So I did. My dad was not saved at this point. And I sat down with both of them. I told them the truth of what had happened to me. And my mom just responded with why, like, just like accuse her of just like, why didn't you do things differently? And my dad responded with nothing. He just was angry. And he just ignored me for 2 weeks, and my brother was weeping. And so after that, a couple of weeks had passed, and he had still not talked to me. He disowned me to some degree of like, you're not my daughter. This is not like, I prayed to the Lord that things like this wouldn't happen, and he didn't answer me. And so he was just more angry. And to me, that made me more angry as to why did this have to happen to me? Why do I have to experience such rejection constantly? It felt like at the time. And so I would pray and I would sing songs over myself just to ease, like just to soothe again, like from when I was a kid. And then I would pray to the Lord, like, when is your justice going to come? Like, I don't understand. Like, your word talks about justice, and your word talks about how you're going to redeem and how you're going to restore. And I don't get why it's not happening now. So then a couple months had passed, and I don't remember what the timeline was, but eventually my mom told me that my dad was in the hospital. And I said, well, what happened? And so he was at work, and one day his eyesight just was gone. He just couldn't see. He had already had diabetes and all these things, all these illnesses that he had never taken care of himself. And so one day he just went blind, and he was taken to the hospital, and I was worried and I didn't understand what had happened. And they found out he had kidney failure. He had glaucoma, which is why he went blind, and all kinds of things. And so they sent him to Chicago to go get procedures and to go get things done. And so we went over there, and that was when he was telling me, Zuri, I'm going to die. Like, I'm done. And I laughed. And this was the first time I'd ever, I didn't ever speak up. I just wept whenever he would yell at me. And so I was just like, okay. He told me, Zuri, I'm going to die. And I laughed and I said, no, you're not. Like, you can if you want to, but you can choose to live for the Lord. You can choose to repent, but you don't get to just opt out. That's not fair. That's not fair. So I was also in a bit of anger of what the, you don't just get to get out of here just because you want to. Mm-hmm. So you have to fight. I said, the same way you tell me that I should fear God, you should fear God, and you should give your life to the Lord. You don't get to tell us to put on the whole armor of God and you don't put it on. I'm not going to let Satan win. I'm mad, but I'm not going to let Satan win. And that night he gave his life to the Lord. And that night the next day he woke up and he was like, I just feel like the Lord is just like, he's just done a wonderful work in me. And suddenly he was this new man. And I was like, what is going on? And I was jumping for joy because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think I'm going to meet my dad the way God intended him to be. And I was just weeping out of excitement and joy. And he wasn't healed, but now he could see. And he was more blind than ever. Like over the years, they told him he had 4 months left to live at that time, and he's been living ever since. And even now he'll testify like, Jeff, I'll wake up in the morning at 8 a.m. and he's on his knees, and I'll come back from work at 5 p.m. and he's still there because he loves him, and he's radically been changed by him, and he has relationship with him, and it's been a whole process of sanctification. He was not the dad he was supposed to be the year after that, or 2 years after that even. But now he is such a better dad, and he's he reflects the Father in so many beautiful ways. And so now, like, after that, like, whole incident, all of those things, the hurt and the pain, and even his illness, he is worse now more than ever, but I've never seen him have more joy ever in my life. He's so joyful. He'll laugh about silly things, or I've never joked around with my dad the way that I do now. And it's just so sweet. And so he does know the Lord now.
Yeah. You obviously got involved in music though.
Yeah. Yeah. So after that,
this conversation with this worship leader at the chapel went somewhere.
Yeah. So after that meeting, she had heard my testimony. All the craziness happened. I never held resentment towards her. And so she was like, can we continue to meet? And we did. She was like, do you know how to play acoustic guitar? And I was like, hardly anything, because I had learned how to play acoustic for a friend that I thought was going to move away, and she never did. So I was like, I learned it for no reason. But the Lord is so funny. He used it for his glory, and she invited me to come over again to play for her, and I sang for the first time. She was like, what? Like, I'd love for you to like come and serve on our team on Sundays and things like that. And I had gone to the youth group a couple times, and there was no live worship. So it was just like video with like lyrics of like Hillsong Oceans. And I was like, this is something like that. Yeah. I don't feel any, like, it just is a little silly, you know, like.
Yeah, you're watching a music video.
Right. I'm watching a music video. It's kind of distracting a little bit, honestly. But then eventually I had told her, I was like, after a couple of reps, I was like, you know what, like, let's start building a band for the youth group. Like, I feel like there's kids that are talented that should do it. And so then we did. And we rebuilt it again because there had been phases of it coming and going, but people would come and leave in leadership. And so she was there with me for a while, and she helped me so much. And I was terrified. Like, I never wanted to be a worship leader. I never wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be in the far back. I was so shy. I would shake every time I would even hold a pick and an acoustic guitar because it's so terrifying. Like, I didn't, and more than that, I wanted to keep my time with the Lord so intimate that I felt, and the Lord had humbled me about that, of like, your gifts are not for you. Your gifts are for me and for my glory. And so I had to give it up. Like, I had to realize that it wasn't for me, not just for me and him, but for his people as well. And so I had surrendered that with a lot of time with her and a lot of discipleship. And so then after a while, she left. She was like, well, I'm going to go pursue counseling. So she left, and I was like, oh, so who's going to be here? And I was 16 at this point, and they were like, well, you're going to co-lead with the youth pastor, and you guys are going to take care of Sundays. And I was like, what? Like, that makes no sense. And they had still helped me a little bit here and there, but I think at that point I had gotten the rhythm of things. Yeah. And so then I had to learn pretty fast. So I did. And I was there for a couple years at the chapel, just leading worship at McHenry, and I loved it because it was a small campus, and I loved being known, and I loved knowing people. Right. And so it was really sweet, and I did that for a couple years. Yeah. That's great. And you've been here at Harvest now for a few years. Has it been 2 already? I think it's... Yes, it's been 2. Yeah, 2. Been here for at least half the time I've been here. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been like 2 years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
I hope you feel like you've been well received.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, at first I was scared.
What?
I was used to the chapel. I was used to that, and they're very family oriented.
Yeah.
And so I was just comfortable. And when I came here for the first time, the girl that's now the worship leader at McHenry, she was coming to be interviewed, and she's now my best friend. But she had invited me to a Saturday night service because she was there for a funeral on a Saturday, and she ended up staying there for a Saturday night service. So she was like, you should come the following week. And just so happened my plans canceled with Isaiah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to church, and this is going to be great.
Isaiah's the boyfriend.
Isaiah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I went that Saturday night, and you were preaching. And I remember she had took me there, and a few people that were on the worship team that are no longer here now were there. And I was like, oh, like, this is really nice. This is a big church, though. Like, this is huge. Like, why would you bring me here? Like, this is huge. And she showed me everything, and she was like, well, here's this and here's that. And I sat down, and worship was great. And then I heard your message, and we were in the Acts series. And
we've always been in the Acts series.
I mean,
that's all we ever do.
You know what? When you had said, when you mentioned that on Sunday, I cracked up because it was so funny. I was here during that series, and I wept like a baby. I don't even know if you even remember like what I would.
I make a lot of people cry, Zuri.
But it was really
There's a lot
sweet.
of tears. A lot of tears.
Swear.
It's usually not for good reasons.
No, it was so sweet. It was the first time, like, I feel like I had heard, and this is no diss to anyone, but you read the Bible as it is. Like, you teach it as it is. And I think it's just a style preference too. Like, I like reading it just like that, over topical. And you were reading, and I loved hearing about the disciples and Paul and the way that you had described them, and I just was weeping, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then you yelled, and then you yelled at us, and I was like, oh my gosh.
I yelled with you.
Right. No, but right, because I do yell. But also, like, you had said things that were convicting. You weren't just looking for me to stay. Does that make sense? You weren't looking for another person to come in. Yeah. But you cared more about my soul, and you cared so much more that I would understand what he's teaching, what Jesus is teaching, what Paul is teaching. And I wept for just like a baby, and I wouldn't even leave. I stayed there till 7:30, just weeping and thanking the Lord that I had come. So then after that, I would come for the next couple months, just like coming and receiving, and then Sunday I would give, and then Saturday I receive, and then Sunday I would give. And I loved it. I loved it so much, and so I kept coming. And eventually, I think by the third time I had come, I think Eli Moore had come up to me, and he was just like, who are you? Because I'm clearly in the front.
That's the way it works.
Right.
Yeah.
So he came up because I was over here like doing the most during worship, because I just had the joy of the Lord. I was like, this is a great church. Like, I love it here. No one knows me. Like, I'm just a congregant, and I get to come, and I get to serve, and I get to love on Jesus. Like, this is great. And he had come up to me, and he was like, hey, like, who are you and what do you do? And I was like, oh, I just work like anybody else, And he was like, well, and I was like, I'm Zuri. And he was like, it's nice to meet you. He's like, well, like, are you just a worshiper? Like, you're just a worshiper? And I was like, yeah. I was scared that he was going to ask me to join the team, because I was just scared for whatever reason, and I didn't want to tell him what I did. And so I didn't. And so then the next week, Tom Madison came up to me. He's like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I just, I just leave. I have a job, and I go to the chapel, like, I'm real busy over there. And, and he's like, well, okay, like, that's great. Like, maybe Saturday nights. And I'm like, I don't know. I just was terrified of how big Harvest was. And so then by the third time I had asked the Lord, and I sat with Isaiah, I said, hey, would you pray with me? Like, I don't know why they're asking me so much. It could just be because they want me to serve, but I feel like, I don't know, it might be something deeper, or I don't know. And I said, would you pray with me? Like, I think I'm going to tell them, like, that, like, my time with the chapel is, I could have chosen to continue it, or there was a space where I could have chosen to leave.
Yep.
And so I was like, because it was right before the ministry season. So it was like in June or July. And so this was the third time. And Ramirez Moody came up to me and he was like, hey, would you consider working here? Like, just like bluntly, would you consider working here?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'll have to pray about it. But thank you for considering me or even thinking about me. Like, I don't even know why you guys would stop me in your big church. Like, who am I? Like, I'm nobody that you guys would stop me. No. I mean, yes. But I was like, this is so strange. And so I considered it, and he had appointed me to the apprenticeship program. And I was like, well, I do have a lot to learn. Like, I would love to come under somebody and learn. And so
and you were here for a whole year.
I was here for 9 months was the apprenticeship program.
And then you've stuck around.
And then I've stuck around. Yeah, that's it.
It's been a pleasure having you here, though. You know that, right? You're delightful.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's one of the things I try to tell you, or I have told you in the past.
You have.
I'll continue to tell you positively that when, you be you.
Thanks.
And you're delightful and really helpful to the people when we worship the Lord together. Most of you will recognize Zuri. She's around the church. She's the spunky little Hispanic one who is delightful and super, super genuine. But that's probably, Zuri, to be honest with you, that's the thing that I like the most about you. Is just you're very genuine, very authentic, and it's a breath of fresh air. A lot of people, when they do worship ministry, I'm not saying people here at Harvest necessarily, but they can become and you know this, anytime you're in front of anyone, whether it's speaking or singing, it can become more performance than it is, coming from the heart.
Yeah.
But I don't ever sense that from you, and I appreciate it a lot.
We have to fight for it.
One of the things that I like about the team that we have, there's lots and lots of people who are there because they actually mean it, and they really want to do it.
That's right.
And really want to lead people. So thank you so much for talking to me. Listen, we're going to have to get this Isaiah guy to figure some things out, right? Let's hurry it up. You want me to light a fire under somebody? I'm going to crack some heads? I'll crack some heads.
Yeah, you should.
All right. I can take care of this.
Please. Yeah. Please. I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Maybe he's not. 19. No. Come on now.
You'd be surprised.
I would be surprised.
You're invited.
That's absolutely right.
You're invited.
Right. Last wedding I went to, just so you know, there was a man who dressed, who as part of they do this weird thing where before the reception, they had the introduction of the bridesmaids and groomsmen, and they all came in and they were competing against each other for who could do the greatest entrance. And one of the guys, they'd switched the clothing. So the bridesmaid had given the guy her dress, and the guy had
seen that.
Yeah. That guy works here. But not
he's right there.
But not for long. So anyway, I'm kidding.
That's hilarious. Is this podcasting only, are you...
Listen, I don't talk to anybody. Nobody listens to this podcast. It's like 4 people.
No. I just have a question.
What?
Can I ask questions?
Yeah, of course you can ask a question.
Is it really? Can I?
Yeah.
Can you tell me how you know the Lord?
How I came to know the Lord?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I grew up in a nominal Christian home, meaning that we went to a church, which would be best categorized as a mainline church, where the gospel wasn't really a thing that they talked about. My sister got involved in a Christian camp, and I went to that Christian camp, and because she was there, and that was where I heard the gospel for the first time. That would have been when I was sort of in just before junior high school, but I would not say that my life had marks of Christian commitment until I was early high school. And so, if you're asking me, did I pray a prayer to receive Christ? Yeah, fifth, sixth grade. But where do I mark my genuine following of Jesus would be early high school. And that happened through a series of really interesting things. In fact, my sister, who worked at that camp, she doesn't follow the Lord. No. And so it's been weird for me to think back now about the different people who are involved there, because the Lord orchestrated circumstances in my life that he would reach somebody like me who is not like all of the people I knew who were like me, all did not, they didn't follow Jesus at all. They were all kind of like either Catholic or Protestant or whatever, but just minorly involved in church, and certainly not in an evangelical, like gospel believing church. And they all kind of went off the rails or whatever, just following whatever. But for some reason, the Lord marked me out and orchestrated circumstances through my sister, who doesn't follow the Lord now, and through my parents, who at the time didn't follow Jesus, and just weird. Wow, kind of weird. Yeah, similar to your story, right? We all of us, we look around and we're like, man, how did that happen? And in the end, you say, well, it happened because the Lord chose to make it happen, and I'm thankful, obviously, that He did. But certainly, it was only by His grace that I don't belong in I'm not part of the lineage. We're not. I always feel like I'm a bit of we call an interloper, an outsider who kind of comes in and gloms on to the side of it.
Come on. So your parents today aren't believers?
My mom died. She passed away 14 years ago, and she was Christian when she died. And my dad, I think, follows Christ. But they came to faith in Christ after I did.
Yeah.
Which was weird. But I have two sisters. My oldest sister, she doesn't follow Christ. And my next oldest sister, I'm not sure about right now, but I can tell you, I need to pray for them.
Yeah.
And want to see them, in fact, was praying today for them. It's just about, challenges. Sometimes in your family, it's hard because you have this weird history with them, right? So oftentimes my prayer for them is that the Lord would bring people across their paths who they would lend their ear to. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Who they would respect and regard highly, but who would be Christian people who would actually be able to commend the Lord to them in ways that I can't because of my own failures in the past toward them, and also, just family nonsense for the years. So
that makes sense. Yeah. So when did you
see? You should be. You're gonna have my job now.
What are you talking about? Yeah, put me here.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was.
You get one more question.
Yeah, please. When did the Lord, or I guess I should say, like, when did you want to become a teacher?
Never.
Why? Same. Twins.
I didn't want. You know what? I've always just, to be honest with you, the thing I've always been wired to be fascinated with words and with arguments and logic and reason. I always thought it was going to take me into law.
Oh wow!
But I just have always been kind of had that interest, and so when I got out of like public speaking was something that I found interesting. I liked doing it, but I didn't like doing it. It's like singing, right? You know you're good at it, but you're also like, ugh, The idea of standing up in front of people wasn't the thing that I really enjoyed. But the idea of being able to use words to move the what I'd call the affections now was something I really loved.
Wow!
And always thought what an amazing thing to be able to do. And to think through logic and philosophy, and then I took to theology. Like that's what a lot of it is, right? Thinking through, how does this author, what do they mean by what they say? How do I understand that? What's the background? What are the arguments that one would use in order to make sense of it? Anyway, all that kind of stuff. And so it all kind of coalesced and converged with me. But I got thrust into it is the answer to the question. I was part of a leadership group when I was in high school, and we all had to.
Group?
Yeah, well, it was kind of a leadership of the youth group, and everyone had to give a talk, and I gave a talk, and then afterwards they were like, you might want to do that some more, and so I then ended up learning kind of basics of Bible study from this dear older woman who helped me and a few other guys to learn that. And then eventually when I was in college, I became a leader of a Bible study, and then one thing led to another, and I graduated and didn't have a job, and my father-in-law offered me a position as a youth pastor. And then I didn't know really what I was talking about, so I needed to get training, and he had gone to Dallas Seminary, so he's like, you should probably go there. I was like, all right. I married his daughter, so I was like, yeah, we'll do that. So one thing led to that, and I loved seminary because of the thinking and the education and learning in it. And, one thing led to another there, and then I came out and I wanted to teach in the academy, but the academy, like the universities and stuff, and I did that for a little while, but I realized that it just was the power imbalance was weird. Like you teach in a class, hey, I can grade you. I'm going to grade you. And a lot of students were like, what do you want me to tell you in return so that I can get the grade? And I just always felt like this is so fake.
Yeah.
So I went and I'd preach sermons, and I'd also teach classes at churches, and I preferred it. The people were way more normal, and they weren't it wasn't this quid pro quo deal where I was they got something from me and I got something I don't know. It just, so in the end, I preferred the church, and then one thing led to another, and I ended up being in pastoral ministry for the last 20-something years.
Wow.
So yeah, like most people, you get thrust into the stuff that you do. You never really guessed that you would end up doing it, and then one day you look around and you're like, wow, how did I end up in this?
Been doing this for a while.
Yeah. But you're thankful that the Lord has given you what He's given you, and you want to be faithful with it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good.
It's been great talking to you. Thanks so much for spending time with me.
Thank you, Jeff.
Zuri, you're always a real pleasure to be around. Please say hi to Zuri around the place. If you see her, you can ask her questions about all sorts of fun stuff, and she will speak back to you in Spanish.
No, I won't.
I don't think she knows
Unless
it, but she
speak
pretends.
Spanish. You should come to Elgin. You have.
I don't usually go to Elgin. I'm kidding.
On Spanish. Come on.
Yeah.
Spanish worship.
I love it.
Yeah, bilingual services.
All right. God bless you all. Thanks, Zuri.
Blessings.